There's a new executive order out there, number 14276, and it's aiming to totally shake up America's seafood industry. It's a really bold plan, designed to take on foreign competition and cut through domestic red tape. So in this explainer, we're going to break down exactly what problems this order sees, the solutions it's putting on the table, and what it all could mean for the future of seafood in the U.S. So here's how we'll walk through it. We're going to start with the huge problem the order brings up, and then we'll look at its diagnosis of what's causing it. From there, we'll dive right into its three-part plan. First, domestic deregulation, then new strategies for trade, and finally, a pretty controversial review of protected waters. All of this is supposed to lead to one really ambitious final goal. All right, so right off the bat, the order paints this picture of a major paradox, something that just doesn't add up at the heart of the U.S. seafood world. It's this idea of having incredible natural resources, but somehow falling behind on the global stage. And the order kicks things off with a pretty staggering number. Get this. Nearly 90% of all the seafood we eat here in the United States is imported. That is a huge reliance on other countries for our food. And what does that mean in dollars and cents? Well, according to this document, that reliance has led to a massive economic hole, a seafood trade deficit of over $20 billion. And this right here is the central paradox the order really hammers home. The U.S. has jurisdiction over one of the largest and richest ocean territories on the entire planet. We're talking over 4 million square miles. And yet, even with all that natural wealth, the nation just isn't the dominant leader in seafood anymore. Okay, so if the U.S. has all this potential, what's the holdup? Well, the executive order points its finger at two main culprits that it claims are really stifling the industry. It's like this. On one hand, you've got America's incredible potential, these vast resources, healthy fish populations, and a deep, centuries-long fishing heritage. But on the other side of the coin, the order identifies two huge roadblocks, what it calls federal overregulation here at home and unfair foreign trade practices coming from abroad. And these two issues really form the foundation for the entire action plan that follows. All right, so that's the diagnosis. What's the cure? The first part of the action plan goes straight after what the order describes as overly burdensome regulations on our own American fishermen. And the process it lays out is super specific, and it's on a tight deadline. First up, within just 30 days, the Secretary of Commerce has to identify which fisheries are the most tangled up in red tape. Then, regional fishery councils get 180 days to come up with recommendations on how to ease those burdens. And finally, the order calls for opening things up, asking for ideas directly from the public and from industry experts on how to innovate and just manage things better. But it's not just about tearing up old rules. Section 4 also pushes for a big-time upgrade. It tells agencies to adopt cheaper, more reliable tech, to expand special fishing permit programs, and, this is crucial, to modernize how data is collected. The goal is to let fishery management react to changing ocean conditions in real time. All right, so that's the plan for inside the country. But what about the competition from overseas? Well, the second major part of this plan is all about leveling the playing field, tackling foreign competition head-on, and doing a much better job of promoting seafood that's caught and processed right here in the USA. Now, before we get any deeper, there's a key term you need to know: IUU fishing. You'll see it a lot here. It stands for illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing, and it's a huge focus of this trade strategy. Basically, it's any fishing that breaks the law or happens completely outside of any kind of management or conservation rules. So, the game plan here is a multi-front attack. It demands an America-first seafood strategy to really market U.S. products. It sets a 60-day deadline for a new trade strategy to get American seafood into more foreign markets. It also mandates a close look at other countries' practices, specifically for IUU fishing and forced labor. And finally, it aims to beef up the import monitoring program to be much better at catching those high-risk shipments before they cross the border. And now we get to the third and final piece of this action plan. And this one is definitely the most controversial. The order calls for a formal review of some of America's most specially protected ocean areas. Yeah, this is a big deal because it puts a very direct question right on the table for review. Should these protected zones, which were set aside for conservation, be opened up to commercial fishing? And the order is very specific about this. It sets a hard deadline. Within 180 days, the government has to review existing marine national monuments, and their job is to report back to the president with recommendations on which of these protected waters, if any, could potentially be opened for commercial fishing. So you've got deregulation, you've got trade enforcement, and you have this review of protected areas. Where is this all supposed to lead? Well, the order is actually crystal clear about its ultimate ambition. This quote right here from Section 3 pretty much says it all. It really gets to the heart of the order's whole philosophy. The policy is all about promoting, harvesting, unburdening fishermen, and protecting our markets. It's a very clear statement of priorities. And all of that policy, every single part of it, is designed to achieve one massive goal, stated right at the top of the document: to make the United States the world's dominant seafood leader once again. That is the finish line this entire initiative is racing towards. So there you have it. This executive order charts a brand new course for American seafood, one that heavily favors production and economic competition. And it leaves us all with a pretty critical question to think about. What's this all going to mean for our oceans and for what ends up on our plates?